Isaac Mo. From Bool to Media. The current Ethiopian government under Abiy Ahmed's administration ushered in what many believed would be a transformative government. However, that dream was short-lived as the Nobel laureate turned into yet another dictator. When Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to power, he admitted that the country's prison was a torture camp. He publicly asked for forgiveness about what has happened on behalf of the former regime. Mr. Jawar Mohammed is a young dynamic Ethiopian-born American political activist and media mogul. Educated at the renowned Stanford University where he earned his bachelor's degree in political science and later his master's in human rights at Columbia University. He is known for his relentless nonviolent activism for the Oromo people. He has more than 1.9 million Facebook followers. From 2016 to 2018, he used social media to organize protests that piled pressure on the former toxic government and play a big role in ushering Abiy Ahmed to power.
Jawar Mohammed, an activist and journalist from Oromia, became a key player from his base in the United States, beyond the reach of the Ethiopian authorities. 4 years ago, he turned his living room in Minnesota into a kind of newsroom, posting and tweeting eyewitness accounts of government abuse for his millions of followers back home, sharing protest tactics and strategies, and using his platforms to help Ethiopians connect.
You cannot imagine this revolution, this change, without social media. People from all corners of the world will snap a picture, record a video, and send it to us through WhatsApp or through Facebook. And we take that, we verify it, we edit it, and we add it back to them. And they take our production and they share it.
Jawar Mohammed was the one central figure that played a very decisive role in galvanizing the protest. He has become a virtual space for the gathering of the message of the protesters who have been silenced, who have been killed, who could not trust the media to tell their stories. They trust Jawar. They send their stories to him, and he broadcasts it back. You can't deny him that significant role he played in this protest.
He was involved in mobilizing people, to come out and ask and demand their freedom. And when there's absence of democracy, journalists are forced to double as activists for democracy. And that's what Jawar Mohammed has done. He wasn't fighting for a specific political line. He was advocating for fundamental democratic rights. Because unless there's fundamental democratic rights, there's no journalism.
The kind of fast change that we've seen over the last 3 years without the social media would have been impossible. And the mainstream media in this, it hurts my ego to admit that we were back burners in this whole process. We were latecomers into it. It has taken us too long to understand this shift and the ability to use the social media to effect the kind of change that the political activists have done quite successfully.
Mr. Jawar is high-profile, well-liked, Oromo politician, and prominent opposition leader. He was expected by many to win the upcoming election. But Dr. Abiy has already tried to assassinate Mr. Jawar but failed in October 2019.
The Prime Minister in the Parliament publicly and openly and harshly threatened the media and myself, which was unusual and unexpected.
Mohammed has had official police protection since last year because of threats on his life. Late Tuesday night, he says, security officials arrived at his home and told his guards to leave. They refused. Mohammed says it was an assassination plot, and he blames the Prime Minister's comments.
Whether that encouraged some security officials to independently act, or whether he gave them green light, I'm not certain about it yet. However, I don't believe this was an isolated incident.
Following the postponement of the election, Mr. Jawar warned the Prime Minister that he would be an illegitimate Prime Minister once the term of the current parliament ended, at the end of September 2020. The Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who see Mr. Jawar as a potential rival, he set up Mr. Jawar Mohammed and Mr. Bekele Garba, arresting them while they were on their way to the funeral of recently assassinated a popular Oromo singer and activist Hachalu Hundessa. Mr. Jawar's Facebook is deactivated, and the only plausible reason that he could be forced to provide his password during arrest or someone who is linked with the Ethiopian government but working at Facebook might access his account. The large Oromo people are urging Facebook to reactivate Mr. Jawar's account. After Mr. Jawar detained, his party saying that both his lawyer and family had been denied access to him, and that he had embarked on a hunger strike the first 2 days. Abiy's administration came up with fabricated stories and accused Mr. Jawar Mohammed. They closed the media headquarters office the following day. Through his attorney, Jawar expressed a serious concern. Ethiopia is a country where torture and impunity for torture are well-entrenched problems throughout its detention center as well as inside prison. Human Rights Watch regularly receives reports of abusive interrogations countrywide, using techniques such as detaining underground, severe beatings, torturing, as well as poisoning political prisoners, similar to what former prisoners described. The chance of killing detainees once got infected with coronavirus can be deliberated by depriving them for medical attention. As recent breaking news indicates, one of Jawar's guard was reported to be infected with coronavirus recently. The unilateral and arbitrary arrests have brought onslaught of condemnation from Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch. As far as Human Rights Watch is aware, there have been no reported instances of the federal government holding anyone accountable for torture, and prisoners' complaints of torture in detention are routinely ignored by the courts. Human rights personnel should closely follow up the human rights violation in recent mass arrests.
There has often been silence from Ethiopia's government on the abuses that security officials commit.
Well, there are reports of protests in Addis Ababa and other cities and towns following the killing of very popular Oromo singer Hachalu Hundessa. And so it's absolutely key that the Ethiopian authorities respond to this by acting urgently to reduce tensions and to ensure that security forces do not make what could be a combustible situation worse. The government needs to order security forces not to use excessive force or to carry out arbitrary arrests, including against protesters, as they've often done in the past.
I think I would start by urging that the political prisoners who have recently been taken be released, and I think the Friends of Ethiopia are in a position to make that message loud and clear to Abiy Ahmed and the government.
Ethiopian government's actions of recent mass arrests, in unsafe environment, and torturing of innocent civilians, or political prisoners, during coronavirus pandemic outbreak, and infecting them with COVID-19, intentionally to kill them systematically, is serious crime against human rights. Isaac Mo. From Bool to Media.